I told the wise man that I saw myself flying in my dream. We are all connected to the source of all the knowledge in the universe. Today, humans cannot fly, but one day, perhaps in the future, humans will be able to fly, and a vision of it has already reached you. When I said, humans can't fly, don't hold yourself back, young man. Haven't you seen the reliefs in Greek mythology depicting gods and giants flying? He added, but isn't that just mythology, the imaginary world of ancient Greek culture? Years later, I heard Werner Heisenberg's thesis that time is a single line, past and future are simultaneous. The belief that everything that has happened and everything that will happen is already written is accepted as religious doctrine. When you consider the view of Far Eastern scholars and spiritualists that we are connected to the entire universe like a thin crystal line, and that we are both receivers and transmitters and all information flows due to our connection to the main source, the Akashic records, then the pieces begin to fall into place. The quantum universe, and especially the theoretical physicist David Bohm, who is obsessed with holography, and the scientist Rupert Sheldrake, whose views in morphogenetic fields suggest that we are all in the same room, experiencing a flow of information from the universe at the speed of light, also hold an important place in this subject. American writer Mark Twain had a terrible dream one night. In his dream, his brother was dead and placed in a gray coffin. On the coffin were white flowers, and on top of the flowers was a red rose. Mark Twain wakes up in horror and shortly afterwards receives news that his brother Harley has died in an explosion in the boiler room of the ship where he worked. Twain goes to the funeral. His brother is indeed lying in a lead coffin. Meanwhile, an old woman places a bouquet of white flowers with a red rose in the center on top of the coffin. Twain's dream comes true exactly that same day. When Twain was reminded of this, he gave this interesting answer: I don't want anyone to believe in such things. It's true for me, but there's no logical basis for such a thing to be true. This dream alone challenges the commonly accepted scientific definition of dreams. Scientifically, dreams are generally defined as reflections in the brain of what we experience and see throughout the day. Mark Twain's dream does not fit this definition at all. In the Psychology Dictionary, a dream is defined as a collection of images that occur during sleep and are perceived as related or independent of each other. The general consensus in the scientific community is that the human brain records memories by establishing connections between neurons, constantly learning new things and causing us to perceive the world. In fact, according to one view, the brain, which is exposed to a lot of information and images during the day, works to delete information and images that are not needed during sleep. Until the 20th century, the only thing known about sleep was the dreams one remembers. Now, with the development of electronic monitoring of brain activity, certain information and discoveries have been made. For centuries, it was assumed that the sole purpose of sleep was to physically rest the body. It was thought that sleep arose from the fatigue of the day. Furthermore, it has been shown that people do not remain completely motionless during sleep, as they perform movements such as turning and stretching 20 times a night to exercise their muscles. However, when the brain's responses during sleep are monitored, it has been observed that the brain does not completely shut down and continues to work. Therefore, the thesis that sleep provides mental rest also loses its meaning. When a person lies down, first their body and then their mind relax and they sleep. While sleeping, heart rate and breathing slow down, blood pressure and body temperature decrease. The difference between wakefulness and sleep is the deactivation of consciousness. For example, not reacting to sounds or questions asked. Although sleep is seen as the opposite of wakefulness, these two states of consciousness have many things in common. Sleep is not entirely a state of calm and rest. Some people sleepwalk and talk. Those who are asleep are not completely detached from their surroundings. There is a term used in 1968 by parapsychologist Celia Green from the Oxford Psychophysical Institute. Lucid dreaming is when the dreamer is aware that they are dreaming and has a degree of control over the story, characters, and settings of the dream. During lucid dreaming, the brain enters a different state of consciousness. While the sleep state and dream continue, there is a progression of consciousness. In normal dreaming, consciousness is closed. Sleep and brain waves consist of 5 stages. Beta waves appear when the brain is working. These are the waves that occur when awake or engaged in a task. Alpha waves appear when the brain is resting. In this state, we are awake but in a free state. Delta waves are slow and long waves. These also occur when the brain is resting. When these waves occur, the person is asleep. Theta waves appear when the brain is relaxed. In this state, we dream. Gamma waves occur during dreaming and indicate the presence of new connections. The oldest document we have about dreams and their interpretations is an Egyptian book written on papyrus between 2000 BC and 1800 BC, and it is still located in the British Museum in England. Only about 200 of the dreams contained within it can be read. In all the entries in this book, the dream is first described, then it is explained whether the dream is a good or bad omen. Interpretations about the future of the person who had the dream are also given. Egyptians believe their dreams are guided by the gods. They also consider dreams to be a form of guidance about the future, serving as a means of communicating with the other world. The Vedas, the sacred book of Hinduism, also lists lucky and unlucky numbers, as well as dreams. Furthermore, various rituals are performed and people wash with specially prepared waters to ward off bad events caused by bad dreams. It is accepted that there is a connection between dreaming and the character of the dreamer. Apart from ordinary dreams that arise from the influence of daily events, mystical dreams, adorned with symbols and containing broad meanings, were more important according to the Indians. It was believed that divine power was revealed in such dreams. The Atharva Veda, a dream book of the Indians, thought to have been written around 1000 BC, later became a constantly consulted source for Freud and other researchers. According to this work, dreams consist of 4 parts: semi-wakefulness, dreamless sleep, the dream state, and the higher dream state where a mystical connection is established with the Brahman god. In ancient Greece, Stoic philosophers considered dreams to be visions from the soul, from other spirits, or from the gods themselves. Following this tradition, people sometimes secluded themselves in sacred temples in order to have healing or future-telling dreams. Ancient Greeks, like the Egyptians, built temples for dreams and used them to heal physical illnesses and communicate with spirits that had departed from the world. According to the ancient Greeks, dreams were grouped into 3 categories: dreams in which gods or spirits showed themselves to people, symbolic dreams, and dreams that foretold the future. The Chinese philosopher Lao Tse asks, "Am I a human who sees himself as a butterfly in his dream, or a butterfly who dreams of being a human?" During sleep, the soul or spirit, that is, the essence of a person's consciousness or the astral body, leaves the body to go to the spiritual world, the metaphysical world, and the records of this journey to another dimension are found in dreams. So, does the soul leave the body at night? In meticulously conducted scientific experiments at Maimonides Medical Center in New York, volunteers were asked to retrieve information from packages or envelopes hidden from view while they slept. These volunteers, who dreamed while asleep, were then asked to locate the envelopes and record what was written inside. The next morning, a surprisingly large number of people were able to describe what was inside the packages and envelopes. In his book An Experiment with Time, author John William Dunn tells us that, although not very important events, he could see some future events in his dreams when he was young. Thus, he realized that time and space do not exist in the way we know them when we are in a dream state, and that a person can travel through time to both the past and the future in the same way, and thus predict future events. He writes in his book that ultimately the universe really does stretch and expand in time, and the reason why our disproportionate field of vision, that is, the future part, is inexplicably lost, and the connection between the multiplying and increasing past time and the traveling present is broken is only due to the obstacles that exist when we are awake and are entirely placed by the mind. This is why this shared network doesn't just extend in space in one way or another, but also stretches backward and forward in time. Could it be that our soul or consciousness leaves our physical body at night and becomes free to wander as it pleases in another dimension of space and time? Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night completely unable to move? This is known as sleep paralysis. While there's no universally accepted medical explanation, spiritual people believe it occurs when your astral body, still outside, is about to enter your physical body. Anyone who has experienced this knows that only a high level of mental effort can bring the soul back to the body. If you've experienced this, it means you're beginning to become aware of your own dream journeys. In 1959, 2 American atomic scientists received the Nobel Prize in Physics. They discovered the antiproton and proved that matter exists in 2 forms, particles and antiparticles. According to the propositions of this new theory, another world could be an anti-world made entirely of antimatter. This antimaterial world would contain atomic and subatomic particles orbiting in the opposite direction to the orbit of the material world. How can antimaterial particles be explained? The Bhagavad Gita, one of the oldest writings in the world, describes this non-material particle from which we are made as follows: a living existence, a non-corporeal particle, which is effective in the functioning of all material particles. This living existence can never be destroyed. As long as the non-corporeal particle exists within the mass of corporeal energy, this existence manifests itself as a living being. In the perpetual collision of 2 particles, only the non-corporeal particle can be destroyed. No one can ever destroy the non-corporeal particle, neither in the past, nor in the present, nor in the future. In Bhagavad Gita 8.2.13, it says that the non-physical particle resides within the physical body. The physical body constantly changes from infancy to childhood and from childhood to old age. Then the non-physical particle leaves this useless body and settles in another physical body. Let's now look at the subject from a scientific perspective. Are we perhaps glimpsing a parallel universe in our dreams, or is our doppelganger trying to tell us something? This is where the concept of parallel universes can provide logical answers to these questions. In general, a parallel universe is where our twins exist in another universe, in a world similar to ours, doing different things. According to this theory, right now you are watching this video while your twin might be surfing in an alternate world. So everything is the same, but life is very different, and that's where the real chaos begins. In theory, parallel universes and worlds are somehow connected to each other. Consider the creatures that became extinct on our planet, for example, dinosaurs. They might be living on our parallel world right now. They might not have been hit by a meteorite, or computers might not even have been invented there. Let's now look at what the multiverse means. In modern science, the multiverse is the sum of different observable universes. The universe we can observe is approximately 93 billion light-years wide. However, this multiverse concept is a very small part of the hypothetical multiverse. It is the hypothetical totality of finite and infinite existing universes, and these universes include everything that exists, including all space, time, matter, and energy, as well as physical Chan. Yes. These unobservable ones are called parallel or alternative universes. If we examine string theory, the theory of everything, relativity theory, and quantum mechanics, which have further developed in recent years, in detail, it shows that what we know about parallel universes is not at all what we expected. According to what we understand from these scientific theories, we have many parallel universes and other selves living in these parallel universes. In other words, there are many more of our own worlds. Everything in the universe is generally made up of vibrations. Subatomic particles can exist simultaneously everywhere in the universe. They also communicate through a kind of telepathy, one at one end of the universe and the other at the other end of another universe. But their movements are the same. Parallel universes. According to the theory, we may be in the reflection universe of another universe. Similarly, time exists at the point where we are, as do sound and light waves that we cannot perceive with our senses. In short, our three-dimensional perception capacity may not be able to perceive the information or vibration that is right next to us. Therefore, we need to learn to understand the message that our choices give us. Especially after the 1930s, scientists conducted studies to answer the question of whether parallel universes exist. Although technology was not very advanced at that time, the experiments conducted suggested that parallel universes did exist. In other words, these particles are not unique to our universe, they exist in other universes and can travel between universes. The theory suggests that in a parallel world, there might be a copy of ourselves. It could be identical in every way, or have minor differences. The important thing is that we coexist. According to the theory, people often have recurring dreams about places or things they have never been to or heard of. These kinds of dreams are short glimpses experienced in a parallel universe. Sometimes people dream about events that haven't happened yet but will happen in the future. These dreams are images coming from an alternate world where we are living a different life. So, in this case, the dream is a gateway to a parallel universe. In the 1990s, experiments conducted by scientists at CERN measured the time it took for neutron particles to decay from atomic nuclei after being separated from protons, opening the door to the parallel universes experiment. The neutrons didn't decay at the same speed. They decayed and transformed at different speeds. The lifetimes of the particles differed. In one test, free neutrons were captured using magnetic fields, while in others, nuclear reactor current was used. The particles decayed by the nuclear reactor current lived for approximately 15 minutes, while in the other experiment, using magnetic field capture, they lived for about 10 seconds less. Although this time difference might seem insignificant to many, it greatly puzzled scientists. Ultimately, it led to the conclusion that there are two different lifetimes in two different universes, and that neutrons can travel between parallel universes. According to many researchers, the answer lies in the question of why the universe exists. Researchers believe the answer is in the theory of everything, namely string theory. Because according to this theory, mathematically there are over 10 to the power of 500 universes. Stephen Hawking, the scientist who passed away in March 2018, dedicated his life to developing this theory. Before his death, he published his final paper on the multiverse. In it, Hawking stated that space is filled with alternative universes within the framework of the laws of physics, and that these universes would not be very different from each other. According to modern physics, the strongest theory regarding how the universe formed is the Big Bang, which was followed by a rapid expansion. Hawking argued that there are other universes. The scientist indicated that the theory that would explain the existence of the universe or parallel universes with a single formula is not yet complete and that this would only be possible towards the end of the 21st century. According to Hawking, reflections of parallel worlds are observable. However, from a current perspective, there is actually a variability here. As we said, the theory suggests there are numerous parallel universes, and we have other twins living in these parallel universes. As we explained earlier, everything in the universe is made up of vibrations. Furthermore, subatomic particles can exist simultaneously everywhere in the universe. These particles communicate with each other. Therefore, we too may be in a reflection universe of another universe, and time and information may already exist at the point where we are. We can liken this to sound and light waves that we cannot see or hear. According to dream researchers, all parallel universes exist simultaneously. Accordingly, a person's awareness is actually present in the universe they believe they live in. Other twins traveling to our possible other universes are sending various messages to those on Earth. Researchers say this is the first truth about parallel universes, and they claim that the communication between photons, as demonstrated by string theory, is real and possible. It's a very interesting detail that these universes are sometimes cancelled in dreams. Some subconscious mind records can be cleared and cancelled. In regression therapy with a very good psychiatrist, a person can detach from the past memories they are attached to. In hypnosis, while doing this, in some studies, it is generally possible to go to parallel corridors and retrieve the energies accumulated there. Accordingly, this cleansing can cleanse the energy records of a person's painful choices from the past and free us from other parallel universes by cleansing us from other parallel universes. However, in this case, the parallel universes where the other counterparts are located are also cancelled. Besides all this, there are an infinite number of habitable worlds. However, we cannot see them because they exist in different dimensions. We said that string theory currently provides the strongest scientific answer to this issue. This theory is developing very rapidly. String theory is one of the fundamental models of physics. It is based on the assumption that subatomic particles, described as zero-dimensional points, can actually be one-dimensional and string-like entities. Its fundamental basis is that its essential components are strings of approximately 10 to the power of minus 35 mm in length, vibrating at resonance frequencies and having Planck length. String theory proposes 6 more dimensions. However, these dimensions are not defined as standard spatial and temporal dimensions, but rather as subdimensions dependent on them. They are extra dimensions folded circularly on top of the 3 spatial and 1 temporal dimensions we know. In other words, mathematical calculations have shown that 11 dimensions fully satisfy the theory. The famous scientist Michio Kaku added the 12th dimension and performed calculations, determining that the system broke down when this dimension was included. So where are the parallel universes? Currently, there are 2 physics theories accepted by the scientific community that explain the universe. The first is Einstein's theory of relativity, which can explain very large-scale matter such as stars and galaxies. The second is quantum mechanics, which can explain very small-scale matter such as atoms. However, these are still insufficient for a complete understanding of the universe. In this case, solutions using string theory have yielded logical results in place of these infinities. Considering the latest developments, this theory is one of the most important theories in the history of science. First, I would like to remind you that many physicists do not accept this theory because it is not a provable theory. Because the string particles in question are smaller than even the smallest wavelengths of light, imaging them is impossible with current technology, and no other way to prove it has yet been found. Scientifically, there is a formula that would allow us to travel to other universes, creating a wormhole. A wormhole is also a kind of time tunnel, meaning it would allow us to travel faster than light and take us to the future. Going to the past is more difficult because it requires negative energy. In conclusion, although the theory of parallel universes may seem a bit like science fiction, the findings and efforts of science are by no means insignificant. Thank you for watching patiently. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Your comments are important to us. See you again soon. Goodbye.